I want to start by taking you back to a memory of mine. It's not some big, dramatic moment, but it's a quiet one that really stuck with me. So when I was younger, I would spend most of my vacations at my grandparents' house. And at the heart of that home was this big, wide hall where our entire family would gather and we'd have conversations, laughter, even the occasional gossip. And it was so chaotic and so lively. But just a few feet away, there's this grand spiraling staircase that looked like it came straight out of a movie. And similar to that was this giant chandelier that was hanging above it that looked like, it lit up the entire hall during the night. And it was beautiful. But I remember standing there as a kid, holding the railing and looking up at the ceiling, feeling like it didn't belong in the house. It felt so different from the rest of the hall. Even as a kid, I felt that difference. That it wasn't just about how a place looked, but how it made us feel. And that's what started my curiosity. Why do some places make us feel warm, connected, and like we belong to each other, while others make us feel more cold or distant? Turns out, a lot of it comes down to psychology and architecture. You see, our brains are constantly reading the space around us, even when we don't realize it. The light, the layout, the way a room flows. In architecture, that's called spatial psychology, how a built environment affects our behavior. I want you all to imagine a room with high ceilings and make it a very beautiful room, okay? Don't you feel more imaginative and more open in that room? Now, I want you to take that same room, but make it more empty, more ugly, more echoey. Now, don't you feel really small or really desolate compared to the rest of the place? How we feel in a place isn't random. It's often the result of very real design choices. And this goes deeper than just our own comfort or how pretty a place looks. Architecture can actually shape how we connect with others and, most importantly, ourselves. Classrooms. I think many of us have sat in classrooms with hard chairs, bright fluorescent lights, and desks lined up like a factory. The message is quite clear. You should sit quietly and you should follow instructions. But when you change that, when you start to add color or natural light into your classrooms, and students are able to move around their desks and chairs to however they wish, they feel like they're in charge of their learning. And they don't just learn better, they learn to communicate better, and they learn to interact with each other better. Architecture, in this case, can either bring us closer together or make us more distant. So now let's zoom out. Cities. I want you all to imagine you're walking through a neighborhood with no sidewalks, no trees or benches or gardens. Do you feel like talking with other people? Do you feel like interacting with them? Probably not, right? But in urban design, there's this beautiful principle called human scale. When cities are designed with people in mind, when there are trees, benches, and gardens, we tend to feel more safe and more grounded in that place. A good example, and this is one of my favorite examples, is the city of Barcelona. They have neighborhood zones where cars are restricted, and the space that was for the cars is now given back to the people. And the result? People walk more, they talk more, and they connect more. Whereas a place that's too cold or too impersonal can make our brains feel threatened or isolated. It can make us shut down socially. But I want to be really clear here. When we feel disconnected in those places, it's not our fault. It's not because we are antisocial or introverted. It's because the space around us wasn't designed for connection. But the good news is, we can change that. We don't need to be architects in order to design better connection in our space. We just need to ask ourselves this one simple question. How can we, as regular people, design better connection in not only our cities, but in our homes, schools, and offices? I asked myself this question a very long time ago. And I've come up with a few suggestions of my own. First thing we can do is to design for interaction and not efficiency. Think of it like this. There's a room you're in right now. Invite people in. tell them to stay and to linger around? Or does it tell them to not listen, to pass through the room? The High Line in New York City is a great example. It used to be an abandoned railway line, but now it's one of the most beloved public spaces in New York. Why? Because it's lined with trees and stalls, and it slows people down. It allows for people to pause, to talk, and connect with each other. We can do this at home by having our own cozy reading corner where we have a chair and a simple bookshelf, or we can have a table where everyone naturally gathers around. And it doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to feel inviting. Now, the second thing we can do is to design for flexibility and not control. When a place is too rigid, we can actually feel like we're not in control of ourselves. In Denmark, this is a library called Dock 1. And the peculiar thing about it is, no furniture is fixed in place. So people can walk in and they can move around everything and create their own study pods and reading nooks. We can do this at home by having lightweight furniture sets that aren't fixed in one right layout. Third thing we can do is to design for the in-between moments. Some of the world's brightest ideas didn't happen in meeting rooms or conference halls. They happened when people bumped into each other, and that's where ideas sparked. At Google's headquarters, the buildings are connected with shared pathways and coffee shops, not just to provide caffeine, but to enable collision between people. Engineers from different departments can get together and they can talk and talk and talk, and suddenly new ideas are born. And it's because good architecture leaves room for coincidence. And lastly, the materials we use matter. That's why it's so common to see warm woods, soft lighting, and soft furniture in cafes and libraries. It makes us want to stay around and linger and makes us feel more comfortable. Whereas a place that's too sterile or too impersonal and made out of glass, steel, and concrete, they look cool in photos, but they actually make us feel way too polished and way too uncomfortable. I saw this exact contrast in my grandparents' house. One part of the hall felt very lively and very inviting. But the other part felt, the staircase and the chandelier felt like it was like I was on the set of Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. It's a subtle reminder that the design choices that we make have a huge impact on how we connect with others and, most importantly, ourselves. Because we're not just designing spaces, we're shaping how we feel inside of them.